In this video, we'll start with the next experiment, that is the use of IC74160 as a decade counter. The aim of this experiment is to study IC74160 as a synchronous decade counter as well as a Mod 6 counter. So since this is a synchronous counter, it will be using a common clock, and since it's a decade counter, the counter will go from 0 all the way up till 9. The apparatus that we require is the baseboard, a single IC 74160 and a couple of jumper wires. The procedure is very similar to those followed in the previous experiments. You'll have to mount the IC in any one of the sockets, and using the provided pin diagram you can make the other connections such as VCC and ground. But in this case there are also some extra connections that you'll have to make. So as seen from this diagram, you'll have to connect the enable T, enable P, the load and the RCO pins, that is the ripple carry output. All of these need to be connected to plus 5 volts, and the clear pin over here will be connected to ground. The second pin over here will be connected to the onboard clock, and similarly you can make other connections for VCC, that is pin 16, and ground, that is pin 8. Then over here we have three input pins A, B, C, D. All of these will be connected to ground initially, since we want the counter to start counting from binary 0. In case we want the counter to start counting from some intermediate value like 5 or 6, we can connect these pins in the corresponding order, binary order, for the numbers of 5 or 6 or so on. And we have four output pins, that is pins 11 to 14. Since it's a decade counter, we'll have 4 bits in the output, so all 4 of them will be connected to the LED box. Once all these connections are made, you can power on the board and the counter will automatically start counting once it gets the clock pulse. You should observe that the counter starts counting from binary 0 and goes up till binary 9, and then it resets back to 0, and this process continues. In the next part of this video, we'll demonstrate how to make these connections on the mobile lab and how you can observe the output using the LED box.
In this part, we'll demonstrate how to implement a synchronous decade counter using IC74160.
So for making the connections, you must look the pin diagram. Here pin number 16 is VCC, pin number 8 is again ground, in this I see enable P and enable T. These are pin number 7 and pin number 10. Both must be connected to plus 5 volt, or basically logic 1. After connecting enable P and enable T, there is load and RCO, which is ripple carry output. That both must also be connected to the plus 5 volt. So the load is pin number 9. And RCO is pin number 15. Both must be connected to plus 5 volt. And clear must be connected to the ground, which is the first pin. After that we can connect input pins either to ground or to plus 5 volt depending on our requirement. So the input pins are pin number 3 to pin number 6. After that, we must connect the output pins to the LED box. The output pins are pin number 11 to 14. After connecting all the output ports, we must connect the clock, which is pin number 2. So this is how our circuit look like after making connections. So the RCO which we have connected to the ground, now let us make it to the 1. So as we make RCO to the 1, here we can see that the output counter begins to start. As this is the mod 10 counter, so this counter is going from 0 to 9.